Okay, so in this video, I want to go ahead and share my first impressions of the all-new Samsung Galaxy S23 PLUS. Yes, the middle child. Let's go ahead and jump in. First things first, let's go ahead and talk about the drastic changes that took place here, and those actually would be where my first impressions lie. The very first one would be just the camera module. What you have here now is a setup of 3 individual cameras, essentially the same stuff that we have on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, matching that of the S22 Ultra from last year. So it's good to see that, Samsung now has that continuity thing going among these devices, right? So it's good to see that they're all matched, because these are supposed to be all flagship, meaning the S23 or the regular S23, the S23 Plus, and the S23 Ultra, especially given that they're all boasting this flagship chipset. And talking of chipset, this year, of course, Qualcomm did work with Samsung in order to tailor the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 to the Galaxy. So the chipset that you have on the S23, the S23 Plus, S1, and the S23 Ultra would be the SD8 Gen 2 made specifically for Galaxies. But I digress there. Let's go back to the physical attributes. So first impressions of this camera, absolutely love it. Wondering why Samsung didn't do this last year when they changed the design of their camera. They should have done it last year, but either way, they did it this year, so no more complaints there. You will notice also that the display is flat here. I like to bring this up simply because there are people who prefer flat displays like here, and I believe that's the vast majority of people. I personally prefer, curved display, but it's not as if I hate flat displays. I like flat displays. I would just prefer, if I had to choose, I would just go for the curve. But anyway, so this doesn't bother me. So if you like flat displays, this is definitely a go for you. It's pretty big, it's flat, and it stands here at 6.6 inches. So it's a big boy. It's not as big as the S23 Ultra, right? Or the Galaxy Z Fold 4 or anything like that, but it is a pretty large phone. I have the iPhone 14 Pro Max here, which is really big, and it's coming pretty close to that. But anyways, the flat display, 6.6 inches. The resolution here is 1080 by 2340. So you're looking at Full HD Plus, not your typical Quad HD that you will get on like the Ultra or anything like that, but I can tell you that it is pretty good. It's a very nice display. So essentially the same specs as what you have on the regular S23, except this is a slightly larger phone, but these are still fairly small devices, right? So you won't be able to pick out, pixel, or be able to make out that, it's a little bit more dense on the S23 as opposed to here, because they have the same resolution. So it still looks very good. In terms of internal storage, this guy is going to start at 256 gigs of internal storage, and you have the option to go for the next config, which will be 512 gigs, and it also will be loaded with 8 gigs of RAM, and this is faster RAM compared to the previous year. So 8 gigs of RAM, and then of course that is comboed with that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, making for a pretty nice user experience and just performance. Now, these are just first impressions, but these are flagship phones. We all know performance is going to be top notch. This is essentially just me saying, give me a little more time to do additional testing so that I can, when I drop that full review, that comprehensive review, you have all of your questions answered in there. Now, let's actually go back to the cameras here. I mentioned individual lenses here. What you have here is matching what you have on the S23. So the 50 megapixel wide, so your main camera is 50 megapixels, and then you have a 10 megapixel telephoto and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. There are some changes that took place that are supposed to make for better picture quality, HDR, and so forth, but we'll get to test that out, and I will share with you in the upcoming videos. On the front here, you have a selfie camera, and this is a 12 megapixel selfie camera. I will get to test this even more and share with you what my own take is on this, but many people are saying that it is actually pretty good, but we'll get to see that. Other than that, you have your typical, physical attributes like USB Type-C port, speaker there, power button, volume rocker, and all that good stuff, and that is essentially it. I do like the ring around here. This is the cream, as you've noticed here. I went for the cream version here. The rim here, that golden, like almost golden look there, is pretty tight. It actually reminds me of what Apple does with iPhones, right? So this is actually pretty good. Now, the sides are rounded, so they don't necessarily dig in your hands like that, but the fact that it's a flat display there, it still gives it, some character, right? So it's a good phone. it feels very good in the hands. The battery on here is going to be fairly large, right? You're looking at 4,700 milliamp. That is actually pretty significant. Now, I haven't had the chance to really plow through it and see how much, you know, it can withstand, but I can tell you that it will depend on your type of usage. I'm going to check with the way I use mine, and I get to let the phone learn the way I use my phone and be able to optimize, and I share with you what it is like using this guy here. And plus, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 made for Galaxy, it's supposed to have fantastic battery management, so that should help. So I make sure to share that with you. Also, this guy here, of course, is you can charge it wirelessly, and you can also reverse charge other phones wirelessly with this guy, and it does support fast charge up to 45 watt, just like it is the case with the S23 Ultra. Now, this is not meant to be a review video or anything like that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and stop right here. If you have any questions, things that you'd like for me to test out on this phone here, and we have time, you know, it's just gonna be around. So anytime I drop a video, if I miss something that you want me to, you know, check out or test out or share my own take on, let me know in the comment section. So go in the comment section, let me know what you'd like for me to check out on here, and then I'll be able to share that in the full review. Share this video if you know anyone who'll be interested, of course, or who is in the market for this phone, and make sure to subscribe. I'm hoping that you haven't forgotten to subscribe. Just in case you're not subscribed yet, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, of course. I'm going to catch you in the comment section, like I said. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. Up until that next video, of course, as always, stay safe out there.